Calico, crazycapital. Come on. Hold up, I'm in here. Push weight, but no gym near. Crazy balls, no drinks here. Shorty wet, no swimwear. I had to get, I had to hustle. Cook it up with the fiends near. Mel had the extended clip. You don't see curve with the beam there. Michael Myers me scream, yeah. My pen's my machete, killing whack rappers' dreams, yeah. Not just a scheme, yeah. I really lived that life, but I got bigger dreams, yeah. I just spent some cash on a pinky ring.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What is going on? It is your boy Joe Calico. You're rocking with Crazy Capital Media, Calico's Cooling Conversation, man. And as always, we find some dope guests to entertain you guys. So today is no different. I got Shefik in the building, executive producer and the host, of a show Shefik Presents what's that word? Invocations?
Shefik Presents Invocation.
Invocations. So we definitely gonna get into that. But what's going on, Shefik?
All right, everything's good. So are we live right now?
Yeah, we definitely live. We definitely live right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so where you from?
I'm from I'm in Yonkers,
Okay.
Westchester, but I was born in Brooklyn.
YO?
Yeah.
Brooklyn, and then you moved out there. So you are executive producer, you were host. So how did you get into the field? Like what was your start?
Well, I'm actually celebrating 25 years in the industry right now. I started in the late 90s, and I was a music publicist for a number of different recording artists, such as Drew Hill, the Isley Brothers, and so on. And one thing led to another. The internet became a big media, by then. So I kind of transformed into doing technology for a number of major companies, and then I started my radio show about 5 years ago. Right, so it's syndicated right now, 23 stations across the country, AM/FM stations. And then this company video series that's on a number of different platforms, retail locations, such as doctor's offices, Dunkin' Donuts locations, all around the country and all around the world too, in various different outlets. And it's based on the human condition. It's about invoking thought, invoking ways to find the human condition in a meaningful manner. The guest speaks of something meaningful in their lives, and then match it with a song. So the music based is a song where it sort of echoes the sentiment of whatever topic they want.
Of the topic. Is the song, like, I guess you getting it from other content creators? Is like original music?
No, it's not original music all the time, right?
Okay.
It could be famous songs.
All right.
But I do have some independent artists sometimes on the show, and sometimes I do play their music if they talk about that in terms of their story. But a lot of the times the guest doesn't even know what the story is or the song, right? So as I tape the stories, it's also tape a video, right? And I take the audio from that to create the radio show.
Yeah.
And I don't tell them what song I'm going to match their story with, because I don't want the lyrics to influence what they're going to say.
Yes, that makes sense. You get a more raw feel, a more authentic feel when you pick the music afterwards.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
All right, so the guests. How you getting the guests? Is like he says, everyday regular people. Are they reaching out to you to come on the show, or you scouting them?
People from my past I used to work with. I used to work with a lot of major artists. Like some people on my show have been like Dionne Warwick. Again, I've had Chris Jasper from the Isley Brothers on my show. I've all sorts of occupations. Doctors have been on there, Broadway stars, all sorts of people, all genres of music. I've even had Tito Puente Jr., Latin music, son of the mambo legend Tito Puente. And it just goes on and on. Rock people and all sorts of people.
That's dope. So I seen when I was doing research for the show, right? I seen you had credits on the Shawshank Redemption.
Well, No, not the Shawshank Redemption. There's a documentary
All right.
about the Shawshank Redemption. It hasn't come out yet. It's in production.
Okay.
So I'm just affiliated by just helping support the production, but it's up to that director and producer to actually put it out.
Put it out,
you know,
man.
so I don't know what stage they're at with it at this point.
Definitely. So back to your podcast, you said it's nationally AM
Syndicated. It's a radio show.
radio show.
It's actually a podcast. So it is on regular radio, AM and FM stations around the country.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. So how's that process getting your show? Because that's a big achievement, right? That's like national.
Well, I have my own network that I put together, and I get my own affiliates and radio stations, like that. So, but again, with me having a foothold in the music business to begin with, that was my background as a person who could market and publicize things. So I was able to, find my own way, and build that. So it's kind of interesting how that kind of developed at this point, but it is a large following. I get over 800,000 listeners.
That's dope.
A million a month, right? And again, 23 stations around the country.
That's dope. And that, all right. And you've been doing this how long?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years, for the radio show itself. And again, I've been in business for 25 years.
Yeah.
So I do technology and other kinds of things in media. And I support other organizations through my videography work. So it's been doing this for a while, and I have no intention of slowing down or at this point. I'm just going to keep going.
Oh, so you do videography also?
Yep.
You're nice with the camera. You're nice with the camera.
I work with cameras, and I support various organizations when I do that. I just did some work for New York Fashion Week, for SM Global Worldwide. That's a company, a fashion entity that travels around different cities such as New York, Dallas, Milan, London, every Fashion Week season. And I just recently started working with them to help document their experience and their shows.
That's super dope. So your resume is tight. Your resume is tight. You got a couple things under your belt right now.
Well, I try to keep busy. That's all it really is. Finding your purpose, finding a way to keep busy in life.
Definitely. So I definitely have a lot of young content creators that watch my show, that supports the channel. So like for them just getting started right now, no budget, no nothing, maybe very minimum equipment, maybe just a computer and the iPhone. Like, what would be your number one tip that you would give them?
Well, sometimes it's really not about the equipment itself. It's about the content, that it's compelling content, things that resonate with people and can relate. Finding your audience, finding some meaningful purpose behind the content. Or it could be just entertaining. Not everything has to be about social conscious or things that are going to be inspirational. It could just be something that you're able to connect with your audience, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Right? And, the equipment, is secondary at that point. There's lots of major productions that have been, taped or even used the most cheapest of equipment.
Definitely.
One example is the Blair Witch Project.
Ooh, I remember that.
Several years ago. So if you remember, that was all done handheld camera, the cheapest camera you could imagine. But it was an interesting story, and entertaining horror story. And that movie grossed over $100 million at the time.
Yeah, that was the big story. I remember that was being the big story about how much money it grossed compared to how much it cost them to put it together.
Right, exactly, right? And then even another example is like even Lady Gaga, one of her recent music videos was shot completely on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Right, so there's examples out there. As long as you're able to connect with the audience and you're able to use it and use your tools in a meaningful way, then you can succeed.
That's super dope. So you definitely got credits on Great Pretenders also. What's that, Prodigy?
Yeah. So The Great Pretenders is another documentary film, and that's actually about Sonny Turner. And Sonny Chernett is the former lead singer of the Platters. Unfortunately, he just passed away recently. Right now, we're taping this in 2022, and he passed away a few months ago. And he's actually someone who's also been on my show, my Invocation series. He used to live in Las Vegas. He traveled to New Jersey, and I was fortunate enough to attend one of his shows and also support this documentary that another filmmaker was doing. So, once again, he's someone for people who are familiar with the Platters. They've been around since like the 1950s, right? They were the original supergroup, as a sense, and they've had a lot of hits, and to work with someone like Sonny Chernett is really an icon and legend in the business. I learned a lot from his stories and what he could tell, right? And then then the other film you mentioned was The Prodigy. The Prodigy is a film that came out in 1999.
Yeah.
And actually, I wrote the theme song for it, along with my writing partner, Dan Bazil. I wrote the lyrics, and Dan was the singer on the song, and also he wrote the music for it. So that was a film that came out. Back then, there was a thing called Blockbuster Video. It doesn't exist anymore. So the film went directly to Blockbuster Video nationwide. So you could actually go there to the stores on VHS. VHS is something that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
But we wrote the theme song. It was the only song on there that was on the end credits of the film. So that was quite exciting because we got to attend the premiere of the film here in New York, and we got to connect in there. And then, me being a publicist, I was also partly the publicist for that premiere itself. So I, wore multiple hats, not only as a songwriter, for that one song, but also the publicist to help the film get it out there.
That's super dope, man. I'm actually on your website right now, and I like, your website is dope as far as the layout. I like, you have a very cool website, for the podcast, for the show, the show.
You're on the invocation.co?
Yeah.
That's the website? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clean. It's like.
Well, I built it myself.
I know. I like it.
Developer for it, so that's what I do. Also, work with a lot of companies and build technology solutions for them.
That's dope. I might have to speak to you. Behind the scenes.
All right.
Spice up my website. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, as far as you do hosting for NBC Sports also?
No, I'm a technical lead at NBC Sports. I just wrapped up some work for the Olympics. I built technology for the Summer Olympics in Tokyo, and as well as the Winter Olympics that we just did this year. And I'm working on, my next project with them is the World Cup. That's happening later this year.
And you said a technical lead, exactly what's that? As far as
technical lead, where I not only develop the technology, but also lead a team of developers and find solutions that are mission critical for the business and find ways to, build it in a meaningful manner. That's on a larger scale, enterprise ready, solutions. So I work with a lot of different projects, with them for that, right? To help empower the company as they need to.
That's super dope. That's super dope. You just got, so the technical, you're on the production side, and you writing theme songs, and then you doing the whole thing. You doing the technology for it, and you're like, man, I'm the whole package.
It's about being a Renaissance person, right? It's finding, but it's all related because technology powers everything these days, regardless of the field that you work in. So I'm a very hands-on person. So by doing that, I'm able to find ways to be hands-on and execute it in a way where I'm able to talk to people that could be, just one-sided on technical or one-sided on production. I'm able to talk professionally on both sides, where it's meaningful for them.
So since you brought up VHS, and I know a lot of the kids who's watching this don't know VHS tapes. Another thing they really don't know is like CDs or records, right? So I know.
Or 8-track.
8-track. The first song I ever recorded was on 8-track. Mm-hmm. It was on 8-track. Yeah, that's crazy. Which time do you prefer, as far as like the old school time where it was about your CD collection and somebody? Cause I remember going to some people's house and thought they was ill just by their CD collection. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you are super dope. You got this, you got that, you got that. But now it's, 1099. We do title, and you got like almost every project in the world. Like, which one do you prefer?
Well, I mean, I sometimes do prefer the physical, CD. I still have my CD collection actually
Okay,
because
still have your CD collection.
I still have it because
Mine's gone.
nobody wants it, right? Because you can't sell it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to just throw it away. Um, but on one side of it, I do prefer the CD because that physical side of it, there's a thing called liner notes and the booklets. That
Yes.
people don't realize back in the day, right? I used to read those books
Me too.
very thoroughly, right? It's a very pictorial kind of thing to have, but also to read the credits in there because especially when you're working in the business, you get the hands-on feel of who's working on what project. And that's actually how I started the music business and able to get contacts there because when you read enough of those books, you see that names become similar, right? In a lot of these books. And, one of the people I actually reached out to initially was Mary J. Blige's manager, right? So I grew up in a time where, Mary J. Blige first started, right, in the 90s, with Uptown Records and Jodeci and Teddy Riley and Guy and all that kind of stuff. So reading the liner notes, I got to, figure out who her manager is. And he took a meeting with me, right? And as well as my writing partner, Dan Brazil. And coincidentally, we actually played him that song that I mentioned about the Prodigy. It's called The Rain, is the song. We played that for him, and he loved it so much. He loved it so much to the point where he actually wanted to sign us as songwriters. But one thing led to another where it didn't work out, not because of our side of it, but because he had some business troubles going on around the time. This was around the time where Mary J. Blige's first album already came out. She already sold like 3 million copies, everything like that. So he was on the verge of actually getting his own label deal himself that was going to be distributed by RCA Records. But he had some business partners and they had a falling out, whatever happened between them, privately. But he was excited and he actually gave us referrals to other people in the music business. We took meetings actually with Calling Me Bad's manager. Calling Me Bad was very big at the time. They had their first album that sold like 5 million copies. They were working on a second album at the time. So he was trying to get us placed on their album. That didn't work out. He also tried to get us placed on Miss Jones' album. People may remember Miss Jones, a recording artist. She had a
few songs with Big Pun, some hits with Pun.
Yeah. And then he also referred us to, the business in general, right? And tried to help us get a publishing deal on top of that. He set up meetings for us at Mercury Records. Mercury Records doesn't exist before, but what ended up happening was we took the meeting and they liked our content, but they declined because they said they recently just signed someone else, and that person ended up being D'Angelo. So they already had their roster full at that time. But it was kind of interesting that he enjoyed the song that we wrote and he was willing to help us out. So, thank you to him for doing that. And one thing to another where, we still kept forward and going forward because once again, I was persevering in the music business anyway as a publicist afterwards. So I was able to find my contacts, find ways, going back to the liner notes to see who's there and everything. But, that's one thing I miss. But the other side of it is, of course, everything's digital these days. So it's easier to work with assets such as music, and video when it's all digital, when you're editing. So I do like that. Yeah. But I do miss the liner notes and finding out information.
Definitely, I definitely at one point knew all the addresses to like the labels in the city and the distributors, because like I used to read the credits, the address. Like, oh, this is where Def Jam is at. This is I was always interested in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So the credits was definitely a big thing. That booklet, even the artwork, right? Even the artwork, like just to see like the theme the artists use in creating that booklet.
Definitely.
So that's super dope. That's super dope. So, but as far as your show, when do you air it?
Well, I'm actually on about 5 days a week right now. The cycle goes from every Wednesday to Sundays is the beginning of the week and the end of the week, Wednesdays to
All right.
Sundays. And I'm on different time slots in different cities. Once again, I'm on 23 stations
All
around the
right.
country. So usually on Wednesdays, I'm on at 11 p.m. at night in 5 stations in Florida area. And all this information is on my website, the invocation.co. You could go there and get the schedules and everything. But I cycle through different cities at different time slots, for that.
And then, all right. So, are you doing these shows like the same? All the shows current as far as you doing it live, or you doing it?
Oh no, that is not live. None of these shows are live.
All right.
Right? It's a highly produced show. It is broadcast live on the radio, but it's all pre-taped content, and it's highly produced, highly edited content.
Yes.
Because again, all the interview segments are actually shot on video. So sometimes I could record those interview segments months, sometimes even years ahead of time, right? Because each show is based on one topic. So like one example is the very first show was about revolution. So I have all sorts of people talking about that content about revolution and what it means to them. So it takes a lot of time to gather as many different guests. Sometimes I may have 3 to 5 different guests on one show. And when you listen to the whole 1 hour episodes, you get a good perspective about the definition of that word and what it means to various people, from different perspectives and backgrounds. So it is highly edited, and it's kind of interesting. I won, over 40 awards so far, for the radio show and video series combined, as well as the website. And once again, I launched this like 5 years ago. I launched it on July 4th, 2016. So now it's exactly 5 years, as of 2022. And I'm going to keep going. My goal is to go for 20 years, for this.
That's dope. Congratulations on that, on the 5 years. And you said, when you said highly produced, so I'm guessing definitely have almost like a documentary feel to it.
There's a documentary feel to the videos, definitely, where I tape it. I don't appear on camera, with the guest while they're speaking. I only talk at the beginning and at the end of every episode. So it's not even like an interview show. Like what we're doing right now is nothing like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
It's completely different. Yeah, so I only talk at the beginning and the end where I, mention what the topic is, have a little speech for like a couple minutes, and then you don't hear from me until the very end where I do another wrap-up speech. And in between, that's the guest and them speaking about that topic and what it means to them. And of course, as I mentioned, the music element where it all streams together. So when you listen to the whole episode, and I actually have archives of every episode on the website, the invocation.co. So people who want to listen to every episode over the past 5 years, it's there. All the interview segments are also there too on videos. I have hundreds of videos that I've taped, and I actually have hundreds more, coming out, over the course of, the years to come. So it's gonna keep going.
Definitely. I'll definitely place the links in the bio of this video on YouTube, so everybody that's watching and anybody who's watching the replay could definitely click the link and go check it out. Are you on Instagram? I ain't find no Instagram.
Instagram, Shefik.info, SHEFIK.info.
All right, yeah. I ain't get that, but I definitely got your Twitter. I got the show's website. I got a couple things, man. So what's your end goal? You said you're gonna do the podcast for another 20 years, but what's the end like?
Well, 20 years overall. So
overall, 15. But what's the overall end goal? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Like, you know what I mean? Like when if it was to happen, you'd be like, all right, this is what it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's worth everything that I sacrificed and put into this.
Well, it's about helping people along the way too, because I work with a lot of nonprofits, charity organizations where sometimes I have the people from those organizations on my show. For example, I worked in the Miss America organization, and I've had some of the title holders from the organization who support autism. Right now when we're taping this is April Autism Awareness Month, which is every April. And I worked closely with the Morgan Marie Michael Foundation which is a nonprofit 501(c) that supports people from the autism spectrum. So they've invited me for the past several years to be a host for their in-person events, which was pre-COVID. We had in-person events. Now they switched a lot of stuff virtually, obviously, which a lot of companies do. And this month they're doing a month-long campaign. So I work very closely with the founders, Alyssa Lego and Amanda Mikowski. And I met them, actually I met Alyssa first at one of the events I was also covering, which is Atlantic City Fashion Week in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And she was there, and she was like about 13 years old at the time, so it's like maybe like 5 years ago. And she was there as someone who was a title holder, so she was there with other people from her pageant system, and they were there, and I just met her, and I asked her to be on my show, and from there I met her parents and invited them to come down. We did a taping here in New York, and one thing led to another, where they asked me to support them for their autism event. Actually, Alyssa's brother actually has autism, so that's one of the causes that's very near and dear to her heart. And her friend Amanda, it's also dear to her because she's helped supports people who are on the spectrum, finding ways to not only help be a voice for them, for being an advocate for that, but also finding ways to support them through their campaigns, such as the iPad campaign, would actually take some of the money and funding that they have and purchase iPads, where they actually install various applications and sensory devices that helps people who are of special needs and all the spectrum.
Great. Oh man, so it's really about just helping, and you provide a lot of inspiration and motivation to a lot of people out there. You personally and throughout with the brand you create, and then I respect it. I respect it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not gonna keep you too long because I am in the middle of nowhere right now. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna get back to you 1 second. I just what I mean? Everybody who's watching right now, just please like, comment, subscribe. You definitely gotta leave a comment, man, because that's how YouTube works. Do you put anything on YouTube?
All my videos are on YouTube, yes.
Okay, so they're on YouTube also. Yeah, but you know how YouTube works, man. You guys need to help with the algorithm, man. So please like, comment, subscribe, man. So we could get this content to more people. You know what I mean? YouTube rewards us. And before we get out of here, I just want you to plug everything. I guess your website one more time, your Instagram, or anywhere you want to direct the people to. And then, I ask you maybe a question or two, and we out of here.
All right. So once again, the show is called Shefik Presents Invocation. You could go to the main website of the show, invocation.co, and all the past archives of the radio show are there if you're not in the cities where it's broadcast on AM/FM stations. And once again, all the videos are there. You can watch it on YouTube. It's on Daily Motion. It's actually in retail physical locations. So sometimes if you're going to your local doctor's office or even some Dunkin' Donuts locations around the country, here in New York City, you could actually go to Mohegan Sun. I've been in some restaurants, and doctor's offices, car dealerships, Subaru dealerships, all sorts of places like that where they have waiting rooms.
Okay,
right? On distribution and syndication there. If you're in Connecticut, you could go to Webster's Bank Arena, which is like a 10,000 seat arena. Go through all the concession stands, and then I'm on the loops over there. Some things have changed, obviously due to COVID. As businesses begin to open up again, but a lot of the doctors' offices were definitely still open. So
I'm interested in that business. Is that that's monetized? I'm not trying to get in your pockets or nothing, but I want to know how that works. It's like, wow, that's intriguing.
Monetized. It's based on licensing deals. So
okay, licensing deals.
I have various ways where my content goes out there. A lot of people who are content creators, they just rely on views, right? Yes. And they just think that YouTube and Facebook is the only game in town to hopefully you get the views, and then they hopefully would give you a percentage of those ads. My business model is not completely based on that, right? My business model is based on content creation and syndication and license distribution. So hence these retail locations, and even major TV shows. Right? There's a show called Unsung. Right? It's on the TV network TV1. I've actually worked on a couple of those episodes, licensing my content, because a lot of the same people that have been on Unsung have been on my show, right? Such as the Manhattans, Jill Austin from Manhattans, had Freddie Jackson on my show, Melba Moore, all sorts of people. Recently they did...
so these other productions reach out to you and say, hey, I want to use this in my...
Yeah.
I want to use 30 seconds of this.
They reach out to me or I reach out to them. Right. More recently, I worked with the episode on Sky, the group Sky, and I worked with the group Ladies of Sky, which is actually 3 female lead singers, their sisters, of the original group Sky. And I've had the Ladies of Sky version of it on my show, so I actually provided content, for the Unsung episode. And previously I worked with the Kelly Price episode, and that goes back to my days of working as a publicist at Island Records, and she was signed to Island Records, actually on the Isley Brothers label through that time. Isley Brothers had a label through Island Records called T-Neck Records, so she was signed to that. So I used to work closely with the label, and I was fortunate where I had content, back then, and I used that as far as the episode of Unsung. So I have a long history of finding creative ways to get things out there, right? Because I lived in a time before social media. So when you live at a time before social media, you know that there's a world out there besides Facebook, besides Twitter and all these kind of things. And they still exist.
It's still a real world. It's still a physical world.
There's a physical
Everybody
world.
about being this meta universe in a couple years.
Right. And there's also a world outside your window where when you think internationally, which my content is international, right? Not every country has, social media the way that we do. Right?
Yeah.
Not all of them have the same high-speed internet or have the same interests as we do here in the United States. So I'm privy to that process because I've worked with a lot of international projects. Right? So it's keeping going for that.
Definitely. So before we get out of here, I just want you to leave us with one word that just describes, the brand, just everything you're doing, the giving back, the show, the highly produced documentary, not a podcast, radio show. I mean, the way you just described it, like, I'm definitely going to tap in. I'm definitely going to catch a few episodes, like, probably once we get off of this, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh,
well,
okay.
I can leave you with a statement. It's the same statement I use for every single episode of the radio show that I ended with. And the statement is, the journey continues right here and everywhere.
The journey continues right here and everywhere. That's it. That's it, man. Yo, definitely I want to thank you for pulling up with us and, spending the Sunday with me and the audience, And everybody, I will have all his links in the description box below. You know what I mean? And go check him out. Say Calico sent you. And I'm gonna get out of here real quick. Peace out.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Yeah, Calico. Crazy Capital. Come on. Hold up, I'm in here. Push weight, but no gym near. Crazy bars, no drinks here. Shorty wet, no swimwear. I had to get, I had to hustle. Cook it up with the fiends near. Mel had the extended clip. You don't see curve with the beam.